system, because that ties in, like I said, to making it more personal. The more personal it is, the more likely they are to buy. But this doesn't mean that you need to over-explain. Like I hear some people like trying to explain the equipment and they're like listing all kinds of gibberish. Like whenever I'm explaining the cameras, it's like it's the most simple thing, but it makes them the most interested, because one, if they have any questions about the cameras, they're gonna ask me, and so then I can tell they're interested. But I'll just be like, yeah, for you guys helping us out, we'll pay for the camera. With the cameras, you'll be able to watch your house when you guys are away from home. And then if you guys are in bed and somebody's at your door, you can just talk to them through your cell phone. And like that's all I say. I say you can talk to it in your cell phone if you don't want to answer the door, or if you're away from home, you can see what's going on around the house. And that's as simple as it has to be. It doesn't have to. Later on in the pitch, if they want to know more about the cameras, I'll talk about the night vision, I'll talk about the 24/7 recording and all that jazz. But the main thing is that when they're away from home, they'll be able to see their house. That's the main thing that the camera benefits them. And so that's what they want to hear. But when you're doing things like that, make sure you guys are using voice inflections to like kind of make it more emotional. So some ways to emphasize their emotions, you ask them questions like, so if a burglar were to break in, do you think you'd be more concerned if your family were home or away? It's terrible either way, but now their emotions are built up to like, oh shit, I don't know which one's worse, this both sound terrible. And then you can come in with your ace like, oh, well this is how we'll fix it. With your cameras, you'll be able to make sure nobody's messing with your house at any time.
It's a good question to use, like, oh, someone's always home.
Yeah, exactly. And people probably get, oh yeah, we're always home. Oh, well, yeah, if your wife was home and you were at the grocery store, do you think you'd be more concerned if somebody broke in while she was still inside or while she was outside the house? Right, exactly. Yeah, no, that sounds terrible, right, man? Yeah, no.
Try your best not to say that in like a too much of a confrontational way, because it'll piss some people off. Like when I'll use that line, but I'm like, I'll be like, obviously it'll suck either way, and I try to say it like not in a rude way, where they're like, oh, because some people will get like.
Well, it just makes them feel dumb when you ask them a question like that. It makes them feel dumb.
Right.
Like you're the one that's trying to sell them something.
Say something nice and do something nice for them after you say something like that.
Yeah, sandwich it, just like my car show, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then another easy way to find out how the system's gonna benefit people is finding their hot buttons, because like you could explain all the benefits of the feature, how it's gonna benefit their family, explain the features of the cameras perfectly. But if their hot button was a door lock, but you explain the benefits of the camera perfectly, the benefits, even though you explain the benefits, it's still not gonna matter because they're interested in the door lock. So make sure you guys are finding the hot buttons, because regardless if you're pitching features. Benefits and not features, but it's the wrong piece of equipment, it's not going to matter. So make sure you guys are finding the right hot buttons, and then whenever you identify the hot button, then you can build up the benefits and not the features. But yeah, and then like I said, the other thing is kind of just pullbacks. Like I was saying with the advertising, like whenever you explain advertising enough, it just gives you the ability to pull back a ton, and it gives you control of the conversation anytime you lose it. Because like whenever you feel like you're losing the sale, you can just be like, well, like I said, you guys are the ones that are helping us out, so you have to keep the sign out, and if you do that, then we'll pay for the system, because otherwise they're not getting the system. So like Mike talked to you guys, like I said, we asked you guys to do 3 things. Keep the sign out, that's the most important part. If the sign doesn't stay out there, then there's no point in us paying for the equipment. 2, we just ask that you guys are flexible with our technicians while we are out here. We already paid them to come out today, and that is why we get to cover your install for you. And both of my sales yesterday, they both asked me, they literally just said, so what's the catch? Because they're like, yeah, they were just like, they literally just said those exact words, what's the catch? And I said, yeah, the catch is that you guys are flexible with our technicians. And I use like in a voice inflection like it's kind of a big deal. Like, yeah, the catch, I honestly made it sound like it's not a big deal, but it's also a big deal. Like, I used the voice inflection as if it's not a big deal, but I told them that's the catch. So, yeah, so what's the catch? Like I said, the catch is that you guys are just flexible with our technicians. They're paid to be out here today, and that's how we get to cover your install. So that way you don't have to cover it. And so as we just ask that you guys take the next one available. They're like, oh, that's it? I'm like, yeah, that's it, but we do need to make sure it gets in today, because that's how we're going to pay for your install. They're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And you're like, yeah, I know. I'm great at what I do. But no, so, but yeah, so make sure, so keep the sign out, make sure you're flexible. And the third one is that you guys, I always say, like, Mike asks for referrals. I usually ask for referrals at the end of the sale, but for my third one, I was just saying, like, the third one is that we just ask that you guys qualify, just because we have to make sure it's a good fit for us, because it's a pullback in itself. Like, we're asking them to do three things, and the third thing is also a pullback. So yeah, the third thing is just that you guys qualify, and they'd be like, how do I qualify? Well, we have to make sure, guys, that this is a good fit for us, obviously, or else we'd just be giving out equipment, and we're not a charity. And so we just need to make sure you guys are paying your bills here, and that this is going to benefit us, because otherwise there's no point in us paying for your equipment. And it's just making the advertising make even more sense, because then they're really picturing it like, oh, ADT is actually losing money when they're paying for my system here. That's why they're qualifying, because ADT is losing money. So they're not just giving this out, and it, like as Mike was saying, it makes it seem more selective. So now they have to feel like there's only so many people that are qualified for the system, and we're the ones going to them. And so yeah, but yeah, so that's kind of what I was just gonna go over. Make sure you guys are explaining advertising a ton. Make sure you guys are pitching the benefits of the right piece of equipment and using those pullbacks, because honestly, the pullbacks and advertising are probably my two biggest things when I'm pitching.
What's your 3 things you say to customers? So you say sign out, check with the tech, and make sure you qualify?
Yeah.
Is that your 3 things?
Yeah, that's what I say, just because they'll be like, well, because I want them to ask me how they qualify,
Yeah.
because when they ask me how they qualify,
Transition.
then I can transition right to qualifying.
Yeah.
And it's like a conversation. It's not like I'm like abruptly trying to qualify them, because like the only time people are really concerned if you're trying to qualify them or not is when you kind of do it like rough. It's like jagged, it's not smooth at all. But whenever you make the reason that you're paying for equipment that they have to qualify, it's part of those 3 things, then it just makes sense. So well, what do I have to do to qualify? They want to know what they have to do. Well, to qualify, we just have to make sure it's a good fit and make sure you guys pay your bills here. I know a lot of your neighbors are renting out here, and it's just not a good fit with what we do. And so we just need to make sure you guys pay your bills here and you guys own a home, and then we can help you out. And your name is Alyssa. All right, perfect, Miss Alyssa. And now you're qualifying. Now you're moving on to sale. But yeah.
Use that as a transition too? Like, they'll be like, well, what do I gotta do to qualify? I'm like, yeah, I'll show you real quick.
Yeah, exactly. I literally just use the question of what do I have to do to qualify to transition into qualifying. So I kind of bait them to ask me it.
It's a good little way of doing it. That's nice.
But yeah, that's all I want to go over. So, anybody have any questions?
That's fine.
No? All right.
Great training.
Let's get it.
Alright, good prayer.
Ronnie.
Alright, everyone bow their head.
Take your hand off.
Dear God, I just want to thank you for giving us this day. It feels nice, and I pray that you help everyone when they're knocking to just stay focused and overcome everything that's being thrown at us. And Lord, I pray, I just hope we all have a good day. Amen.
Amen.
I like it.
Good.
I like it.
You're
You're
You're good, man.